Jagrata, Jai Masters. Eventually, you come to realize that every moment of your life is spiritual growth. It doesn't even matter if you're conscious or not. That's why you're here. You're here to go through the experiences that life presents to you to cause you to be conscious. If you're not conscious, you do terrible things, you end up in jail or you end up whatever. So you're experiencing yin and yang. You're experiencing cause and effect. Eventually, Meher Baba says it's like sandpaper. Life is like sandpaper. It goes back and forth, trying to get rid of the rough spots. Now, once you wake up, what does that mean? It means you have managed to become conscious enough to where you realize what you've been doing is following these reactive energies, thoughts, emotions, etc., the pull of the world and the pull and reactiveness of the inside, that's been your life. Then you're conscious, obviously you're conscious, you wouldn't know what's going on, but you're not conscious of being conscious. That's what it boils down to. That's what it means to wake up. Everybody's conscious. If you ask them, are you in there? They say yes. The question is, are you conscious of being conscious? That may sound like double talk, but that's what it means to wake up. That somehow, and I don't want to talk about how, magic, God, evolution, I don't care. Somehow you're back enough back here, behind, that you notice your mind instead of being your mind, instead of reacting to your mind. So you wake up, you're conscious. And what does that mean? At first, it doesn't mean much. It just means you're more confused than you were before, because you still have all these forces going on inside of you, causing mind and heart and emotions and thoughts and reactions to take place. Except now you're somehow noticing it's taking place instead of just reacting. There's this moment that happens where there's consciousness, where there's pure awareness that this is what's going on. That is what grows. That space between awareness and reaction is what you're here for. Here where? In the temple? No, on earth. Earth is a place that souls are sent to evolve. Therefore, what happens is you go through different experiences, and especially once you're awake, then the evolution becomes very, very fast, much, much faster than what you're going through with your karma. Because what it means, that it's throwing you around, the world's throwing you around, but it kind of tends to wake you up, all right? Well, over time, maybe many lifetimes, it has enough of an effect on you to where you step back, to where you're aware of what's going on. But that immediate awareness is very, very slim, very slim. You notice and then you react. And then you notice that you reacted. There's a sense of where did I go and I didn't want to do that. That's spiritual. This is spiritual. It's not spiritual. Spiritual means you're waking up from whatever level you're at. You're growing up. You're waking up. So that basically that's what's taking place. And then what happens is you wake up enough to where you start to say, did I have to do that? I don't know how to explain it to you. I saw it before I did it. Something in me didn't want to do it, but I did it anyways. You ever know anything about that? Okay, it happened. Why is that? That's not evil. That's not bad. That's not non-spiritual. You noticed that you noticed when you come back. And the first thing that happens, I remember this from way back, right, is when you come back, you don't want to come back. You don't want to see that you fell. All right, that's a major step. It's sort of like, not even to yourself, forget anybody else. You don't want to admit that it overcame you and that you fell down. So you start rationalizing, well, they really did this and anybody would have done that. Instead of honestly stepping back and saying, whoops, I fell. All right? But over time, naturally, if you work with it, it happens faster. But it's going to happen anyways. Once you see, you can't go back to sleep. You can try, but it ain't going to happen. You have awakened to the point that you see. What you do about it is your business. What you first do about it is get confused, causes confusion. Like, I used to deal with my children this way, or deal with my husband and wife this way, used to deal with my career this way, and I didn't do perfect, but it kind of like is my way. That's how I am. That's how I deal with things, all right? And all of a sudden you start seeing when it doesn't work. You start seeing that's really a slip. The one I remember most is you sit there and you had a rough time with somebody, business here, relation, whatever it is, and it wasn't so smooth last time you interacted. And you had enough time to have enough space to say, I don't want to do that again. Right? I don't care what it is. It feels yucky inside after that disharmony takes place. And so you sit there and say, okay, now I'm going to interact with that person. We're not going to touch that subject, that sensitive subject. And you walk in and you're fine for X number of seconds. And next thing you know, that's the subject. Okay? Why? Because it's on your mind. It's on your heart. It's bothering you. Yes, you were okay when you stepped aside, relatively okay. But the moment you stepped inside that energy, again, that's what came back up. And there it is. Okay? And then again, you don't want to come back and realize you did what you said you weren't going to do, right? I'm just telling you the honest, or whatever level of path you're at. And so you start rationalizing it away and this and the other thing. And then eventually you get to the point where you realize, wait a minute, I'm only messing myself up. It really doesn't change anything to sit there and mess with somebody else. You can't change anybody else. Let's take a moment. This is what 50 years of growth showed me, right? The person is the way they are because that's the level of awakening they are and where they're working with themselves. So either they're not awake at all and you're not going to get any worse, or they're a little bit awake and all you're going to do is buck with what they can't handle, right? We're going to go back to what I've taught you a million times. Why is a person the way they are? It is not because of you. You showed up a month ago, a year ago, 2 years ago. They have an entire lifetime that they went through all these experiences. And their psyche is the sum of their learned experiences. Everything that came in their daddy, mommy, blankie, every single thing, high school leaves some good scars, right? And all that went on in your first boyfriend, your first girlfriend, and your first interaction with them. I mean, are you kidding me? All that happened before you showed up. That formed this person. That formed the way they think. It formed the way they feel. It formed the way they react, and so on. Now, you're going to sit there and say, all right, now look, I can change you. No, you can't. They have to change themselves. They will act like you changed them because they're afraid of losing you or because they want something from you. But now you're interacting fake. Now you're not interacting with the real essence of the person. You're interacting with someone who's scared or desirous. And all that's happening is they're reacting to their fear or desire. You don't want to be in that interaction. That's not a true interaction. It's going to blow up in your face eventually. Does everyone understand that? So don't think you changed that person. You did not change that person. Real change takes place with what I started talking about, spiritual growth, where there's literally a change inside of how the person is dealing with themselves, not how they're dealing with you. So you can make them sleep on the couch, and you can threaten them, and you can do this, and you can do all kinds, or love them to pieces, or bring flowers. And you can bribe or punish. You did not change that person. That is still sitting in there. The whole sum of their learned experiences is sitting in there. The only real change takes place with what I started talking about, is you, how you interact with yourself. That's change. Otherwise, you're either suppressing or expressing. Like psychology is very big on non-suppression, and they should be. Suppression is a major problem. Why? It builds up inside and blows up. Anything you suppress, push it away, is like a virus down there. You don't even see what it does. It just spreads out everywhere. You don't know where it's coming back up. So psychology teaches, a lot of psychology, teaches expression. And they're not wrong. Rather than suppressing, you're better off expressing. Yoga does not teach that. Yoga, of course, teaches you don't suppress. What, are you kidding me? You wouldn't be here if you still think suppression works. But you think expression works. Now, we got to go a little further. By the time we're done, I'll go back to expression. As to why it's nice. It's better than suppression. Absolutely, it's better than suppression. If you have energies inside of you that are disturbed, and you yell, or you do this, or you do something, and then you feel better, okay, let's kiss and make up. Okay? You don't understand what really happened, what effect that has on your spiritual growth. But it's okay. It's better than suppression. So where were we? We were sitting there saying, not that you're lost down there doing either expression or suppression. You have started to wake up. And what do you notice? You notice that it can get very confused in there. You notice it can get very uncomfortable in there. You notice the heart can go through some serious stuff. And the mind, you think you have bad hair days? Have you had bad mind days? Okay? And you start just noting. It's like the witness isn't something you practice. The witness is because you woke up and it's witnessing. Part of you is noticing what's going on. And you notice that it can get really bad in there. And you'll also notice sometimes it get really nice in there. And it's not because somebody kissed you or because you won the lottery. It just can be nice in there. It can be somewhat peaceful. It can be somewhat encouraging and inspiring. So the next thing you do, now that you noticed, is instead of reacting and so on, you start planning. What do you mean? And this is just natural. You're going to go through this stage where you realize, wait a minute, I really felt better when she did this. I really feel better when I got complimented. I really felt better when people clapped when they came in the room. I really felt better when I got A's. I really felt better. And you start noticing that you can notice what makes you feel better. And then you start using your will. It's still better than reacting and being lost. You start using your will to attempt to manipulate and control the environment around you so that you can feel better inside. But you're doing it consciously. You are purposely doing this to try and create a situation that makes you feel better inside. So that's your next step of growth. And most people don't go any further than that. Listen to me. Most people do not go any further than that. They're lucky if they get to that. They're still nice. They're still paying attention. They're measured in their activity. They're not just reacting and doing crazy things. They're trying to create situations outside so that when they come in, you're witnessing something nicer inside. And some people do very good at it, but it doesn't ever actually work. They're always working at it. They're always trying to get what they want and avoid what they don't want and keep what they want and not end up, again, having to work with what they don't want. It is a full-time job. It is what everybody's doing. They're not working in this healthcare field or this or that. No, they're doing this. They're trying to be okay by manipulating the environment around them so that when it comes in, what they experience is nicer. And like I said, it's not a bad thing. It's not a terrible thing. It's just a stage of evolution, and it happens to be the stage of evolution on this plane. That, I don't care where you are, I don't care what language you speak, I don't care how old you are, I don't care how young you are, I don't care. That's what's happening. Have you noticed in yourself and in everybody else? So that's a stage of growth, and you're all in that stage. Do you understand that? At one level or another. The question is, now let's talk about this just for a minute. I don't want to get there. Let's talk about, there's a gap in there. Like how much awake you are, there's a gap as to what are you willing to do to get what you want. Some people want to go pretty far, aren't they? Lie, cheat, steal, hurt other people, walk over everybody. Have you noticed? Okay. What are you willing to do to avoid what you don't want? Lie, cheat, steal, walk over. You know what I mean? Or is there a limit, a natural limit inside to where you see what you're about to do and it makes your stomach hurt? And you say, no, I ain't going down that far. I don't care. It's not worth it. Yes, I'm jealous. Yes, I can't believe he or she went out with somebody and didn't tell me. This is freaking me out. I'm not going to go there. Wow. Now life just did what it was supposed to do. It challenged you to go beyond yourself. And so even though the effect hurts, you don't get what you want or you get what you don't want, you can live with yourself. And I don't want to call that conscience. Conscience is a funny word they use. I don't ever use that word. Okay? But it basically is, it should be anyways. The real pure use of the word conscience is that you are conscious and you're looking at it and it looks ugly. It's not because the church taught you not to do it or you're afraid you're going to get in trouble. That's not conscience. True conscience comes from consciousness being aware even if it doesn't want to be. And it knows that I can't go there. Anybody know anything about that? All right. Each time we're stepping back, aren't we? This is gradual evolution. It's called waking up and growing. So when you do that the first time and you practice the conscience, right, you grow a lot. And it becomes easier to do that next time. When you don't do that, and you say, I'm getting what I want. It's all survival of the fittest. And you just go down there and mess everything up just to get what you want. That becomes a habit. Both become habits. So you have to decide at what level you want to live your life. And spiritual means to the best of your ability, I said every moment of your life is spiritual, didn't I? We're not talking about meditating, are we? We're not talking about mantras. We're talking about life. Okay? That's where it's done, on the battlefield of life. That's true spirituality. So if you commit yourself, and you guys wouldn't be here if you hadn't, at least to a good degree, you sit there and say, I have seen enough that when I don't give in to those impulses of desire and fear, they're all desire and fear. It's all desire and fear. I don't care what level it's at. Why is it desire or fear? Ready? Because I'm not okay inside. I can surely see that. Okay? I got issues. And I am desiring things that will make me feel better and not hit my stuff. And I am fearing things that will make me feel worse. That's everything. It's your career. It's people being proud of you. It's having a baby. It's having another baby because the first one we got along better, but maybe this will work. Not that you don't do these things. Don't ever hear it like that. And just understand that people do things out of fear and desire. Either you're trying to get the way you need it to be so you'd be better, or you're trying to avoid things from happening to make you worse. Why? Because you're not okay inside. Let's make sure we understand that, right? What does it mean to be okay? Say you need nothing. You're so whole and complete within yourself. You're filled with Shakti. You're filled with bliss pouring through your being at all times. From the moment you wake up in the morning to every single thing happens all day, no matter what it is. If it's the worst thing that ever happened, oh boy, this will be fun. It's like playing a video game and somebody, Pac-Man ate you. That's how much video games I know, right? Pac-Man ate you, right? And you get back up and you play. That was fun. You go to level 6, you fall down. You're not killing yourself, right? You keep playing. Why do you keep playing? Because it's fun. It's challenging. That's what life is. When you reach that state, nothing will ever touch you. Nothing will ever bring you down. All it is exciting and joy and love and just enthusiasm all the time for every single thing you do. Now, anybody there yet? Okay. Then you're not okay. You still have things inside that can bother you. You still have things that can happen outside that bother the things inside. How's that? That means you're not okay. Just make sure we define that. All right? So basically, you go through this growth pattern where life challenges you to see where you're at. You take medical tests to see where you're at. Life challenges you to see where you're at in there. Are you far enough back in here? Where are you? I don't want to say far because there's judgment. Where are you in there in terms of how far you'll go to get what you want? Do you understand that? Okay? And that's not judgment. It's just sort of like, okay, I see. I'm willing to lie. I'm willing to hide the truth. I'm willing to whatever. Okay? I'm willing to rent a really, really nice car when I go out on a date so that they think I'm special. Well, what happens the next date? Do you understand the shallow grave you dig when you present yourself in a way you think somebody else wants you to be? If you are out there trying to impress somebody, God forbid you succeed. Because it's not you. You put on a front. You dress a certain way. You talk a certain way. You act a certain way. You exaggerated. So basically, how far are you willing to go? And life takes your temperature. At some point, you realize it's a shallow grave. If you are out there trying to impress somebody, they don't love you. They love this front that you put out there. And you're afraid that they'll see you. You want a relationship founded on that? Have you ever had one? It's like because you have need and it fulfills the need temporarily, but then you're left holding the bag. You have to watch what you say and what you dress and worry about what people think about you and try to figure out what the person really wants you to do, and you're just busy not being you. Eventually, we'll skip a whole step here, you realize it's not worth it. I'd rather be at peace inside myself and feel natural love and well-being than have to get it from somebody else. Whether you're willing to take the risk that you might go through some loneliness, that you might go through some fear. And eventually, that was a big step, by the way, you eventually get to the point where you say, I will go through anything. I'm willing to go through anything to be real, to be able to take a breath and just finally stop struggling. Because you're suffering. That's a form of suffering. You're not going to stop your mind while you're doing this. Why? Because you're using your mind to do it. You're sitting there saying to your mind, what should I wear? What should I do? What should be this? Blah, 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 in order to be okay. You went to a mind that's causing all the trouble and asked it, what needs to happen for me to be okay? Well, believe me, you're not going to like the answers. And it will never be satisfied. Oh my God, if she ever said she loved me, I would never do anything else for us. Your mind will say that every single time. Your heart will say it every single time, and it will mean every word of it. Ever found it to be true? Ever found it to be true that when you said, I don't need anything else, you really didn't need anything else for the rest of your life? Of course not. Why? Your mind doesn't have any idea what it's like to be okay. Why? Because it's not. It just knows what it's like to not be okay, and it doesn't want to get worse. And it knows what little things made it better, and so it keeps telling you those are the answers. Don't blame it. You went to a mind that's suffering and said, what should I do? I mean, it's hilarious. How good has its advice been so far? How many times did it solve every problem? Okay? I used to sit there and say this, and I'll say it to you. That's part of stepping back. Eventually you'll be back far enough till you'll notice, my God, my whole life I've been doing the same thing. What, trying to be okay? Toy, mommy, this, that, boyfriend, girlfriend, God, this, that, right? I've been doing the same thing my whole life. Well, if you've been doing the same thing your whole life and you're still doing it, maybe it doesn't work. That's called waking up. Do you see what waking up is? It's really deep stuff. It's real. It's real stuff. So did somebody wake you up? No, you have to wake you up. By the way, you don't wake you up. You don't wake you up. You can't make yourself wake up. You have to be willing to wake up. Remember when I said you're there and you see something, but then when you fall down, you rationalize. No. You got to own it. You got to be real. You want to be real? You got to be real. In there. Forget out here. Okay? So you notice it. You notice it went awry. You step back. Good learning. I'll do better next time. That's what a spiritual person says every single time. I'll do better next time. It's like learning a sport. Pick up a tennis racket. Try to play tennis. It's going to go into the net. Do you quit? Do you blame yourself? What good does that do? You say, I'll do better next time. Piano, sport, anything you do. You say, I'll do better next time, don't you? That's what you got to say inside. You got to be compassionate, understanding that this is the sum of his learned experiences, and it's had lots of experiences, and they weren't all so pleasant, and you didn't handle them well. You hear me? So that's what you left in here. So when you start to wake up, anytime you fall below the bar that you're noticing when you're clear, that's what you do. What is the clearest you can? That's why meditation helps. You get very clear in meditation. The mind quiets down, and you get up and you realize, wow, it can be nice in here. That's the real beauty of it. Nothing happened, but it's nice in here. Good. Can you keep it nice in there? No. The moment you come out of meditation, all the stuff comes back. All right? But at least you got that clarity. During the clearest moments of your life, set your pole star. You know what a pole star is? That which is guiding you. You just say, okay, I see that. I see what a mess I'm making in this relationship. And yes, I feel need. Yes, I feel fear. I love her. I love him. I don't want to lay that on them. I know everything inside of me wants to, but I don't want to. Whoa. How's that feel? That's called growing. That's called growth. Now the question is, are you capable of carrying that out? Because just because you saw it, when you're clear, doesn't mean it's going to stay there all day. In fact, you know it won't. So now it becomes, are you capable of working with yourself to go through the struggle with your lower self? As we talk about higher self and lower self. Your lower self is not evil. It's not devil. It is not. It is the sum of its learned experiences. Things happen when you were young, your parents got divorced, all right, and it really was uncomfortable to you and you got all weird, right? I've had people literally tell me, I'm not going to get married. Why? Because I don't want to get divorced. Now, there's definitely something wrong with that. I'm not going to have children. Why? Because my parents screwed me up. You hear me? And so at some point you step back and say, I don't want to be like that. But just because you said I don't want to be like that doesn't mean inside you're not going to be like that. Psyche doesn't change quick overnight like that. It's the sum of its learned experiences. So you have to learn to work with it. You who's awake have to look down and work with that lower self, work with those impulses and those disturbances. Master used to say, it's your kingdom. Why did you give your kingdom away to somebody else? Right? You are the soul. You're the consciousness. You're the awareness of being. That's who you are. The rest is just an ego, noise, fears, desires, psyche. You're the consciousness that sees all that. So you start exercising your power. At first, you will exercise your power through suppression. Not Freudian suppression, but by pushing it down. I don't want this to bother me. I don't want to be like that. I'm going to be strong. That's what you call strength. I'm going to be strong enough not to give in to that. It's a pushing down. You understand that? The energy that's coming up is challenging you, challenging your ability to stay conscious. You've seen it strong. You're afraid of it. And so you push it away. And you think you're doing good. And you are. You think you're doing good because you didn't give in. Because you managed to go through the situation and keep it under control and so on. That's not real strength. You'll have to do that to start with. But you don't want to get caught there. You'll go through it. I just want to help you through it as fast as possible. Right? What is real strength? That I can sit here and have it come up and pass right by me. That's strength. That's core. And you work out, you have core strength, right? That's core strength. From a spiritual point of view, that is the strength of consciousness, being able to relax in the face of what's coming up, not have to push it away so that it doesn't take control. That's a very deep state. That's a major stage once you catch on. And that is, of course, that's what I teach. That's what relax and release is about. So you're sitting there. Yes, you can push it away, and sometimes you have to push it away. Yogananda taught. The teachings we teach are hidden in his teachings, right? He was a traditional yogi and taught traditional stuff. But he said will is the most important thing, which of course it is. If you don't exercise your will, well, he broke it into willful volition and habit form will. But that's what your lower self is, habit form will. You allowed your will to be used by your lower self. So your ego is out of control and has all the power. Your id is out of control, has all the power. Your superego is out of control, has all the power, for you Freudian studiers, all right? So basically what happens is that's habit form will. You gave in to your lower impulses. You gave in to the guilt and the shame and the things that society laid on your head. And you gave in to your ego. What do I want? What do I know, right? And so that will became habit formed. You need to change this direction. You need to reclaim it to come back up to you. So he said, whenever you're standing in a situation that's challenging your lower self, breathe. Do mantra, traditional yoga, right? Do something to not give in to that, right? But he also said, if you're in a situation with people and you see that you're going to fall, run. That's kind of neat. That's an enlightened guru telling you that. Why? He literally said, you're better off willfully taking yourself out of the situation than you are losing your control over yourself. Isn't that neat? This is yoga. We're talking yoga now, guys. It's way beyond meditation or mantras and so on. It's why you would meditate and why you would use mantras, to learn how to do this process of evolving. So now you're in there and you see that there's a willful power pulling on you. You're going to struggle with it to start with. I want to go past that. Past that means it's coming up. I see that it's tending. You ever see it's pulling you? It's like a tug of war. It's pulling you into it. It's a very powerful thing, right? Relax. Everyone goes, no, I don't understand. It won't relax. You don't ask it to relax. Do not ever ask anger not to be angry. Don't ask jealousy not to be jealous. Don't ask insecurity not to be insecure. That is their nature. Everything has its nature. You relax, not them. Can you relax in the face of this thing coming up? And in most people's cases, the answer is no. I don't stand a chance. If I don't push it away, the next thing I know, I'm screaming and yelling and carrying on and pull my hair out, or somebody else's hair, throwing pots and pans. So that's where people are. Well, therefore, you know what I teach. I teach it's true. Right now, you don't have real strength, core strength enough to be able to handle all this stuff that's coming up. Why don't we learn to? That's the teachings. It's not that you feel guilty or this or that, or not having fast enough, that you can't handle all the stuff that's coming up. Let's start with what you can handle. What do you mean? The weather. Oh, it's so hot. Oh, my God. You can handle the weather. You're walking from a car to a house that's air conditioned, right? Can you take that little walk and relax? Even though the body is complaining that it's hot. Even though your psyche is complaining about this, that, or the other thing. I always use the same examples, I'm sorry. Driver in front of you is driving slower than you want to go, or didn't use their blinker. Can you handle that? I know you can't handle the divorce, and you can't handle the blankie being taken away too soon. You can't handle all kinds of things. Can you handle that? Can you handle the 4 blocks you're going to drive with a driver driving slower than you want to go? Believe it or not, the answer right now is no. You can't. You're going to bother you. Ever talk to the driver in front of you? Answer me the truth. Come on, buddy. Come on. Look at the speed limit sign. What's the matter with you? Nice blinker. Come on. Is that just me? Or you know? Okay? That's called not being able to handle it. You can't drive down the street without causing trouble for yourself. Even though that's very little energy, learn to handle it. Learn to make it a game. I can do this. I can drive behind somebody who's not driving the way I want them to and be okay. You think it doesn't matter? It does matter. That's like saying I'll play the piano but not practice the scales. Well, then you're not going to play the piano. But if you practice, then bigger things will happen. This is exactly the same. You know, this is the essence of my teachings. Now you see why. Because you're back there, you wouldn't be here. How do you work with accelerating the process of awakening? It happens naturally, and it will happen naturally, but it will go very slow. But if you work with it this way, what you'll find is, okay, I don't complain about the weather anymore. It rains. Oh my gosh, rain, it has to be raining. Because we get food from the rain, that's why, right? So you can work with yourself. The Gita says something really beautiful. One should raise the self with self, not trample down the self. For self which is self's friend can become self's foe. It's dealing with Atman, capital Atman and lowercase Atman. It's talking about higher self and lower self. One should raise the self with self, not trample down, meaning suppress, push it away, fight it. Because self which is self's friend can become self's foe. If you will work with yourself and raise yourself, like I'm talking, with little things, you'll have fun. All right? If you practice being open, if you practice letting go, now you understand what letting go means. The energy is coming up. Don't push it down. Don't fight it. Don't judge it. You let go. You who's aware of it have the right to relax. To relax into it? No, it doesn't mean that. It means you relax. Don't touch it. Have nothing to do with it. Don't suppress it. Don't express it. Relax in the face of it. And what will happen? It will pass. And little by little, you'll learn, hey, I'm okay. I'm okay even though it's raining. And okay means really okay. Deep inside, I'm okay. It's not that because it was raining when I got out and I got a little wet when I went back to work that I spent the next 2 hours telling everybody how it was raining. I'd have to rain when I got out of the car. It rained on my birthday, right? No, it rained, you went inside, and it never crossed your mind to say anything about it. Why? It didn't bother you. Why? Because you relaxed. You allowed the energy from the lower self to pass through you, to pass by you. Look at how I'm moving my hands. It's going to come from down here. That's where all the junk is. It's going to come up, and you won't be able to handle it. You, the consciousness, you push it down. No, let it go. Don't ever fight your mind. Don't ever fight your heart. You stay centered. How? By relaxing. See, that's a word. Be centered. What the heck does that mean? Relax. That's what it means. Relax. When? Now. But no buts. No buts. Just relax. But no, that's your mind trying to understand why you should relax. Your mind is not going to tell you to relax. That is not the advice it's going to give you. It's going to tell you what everyone else needs to do so that you're okay, doesn't it? It's going to tell you how the whole world needs to be so you can be okay. You don't bother even asking. You just relax. Right then, right there, relax. You mean my body relax? Sure, body relax, but it's more than that. Relax your heart. But it hurts, relax it. But it hurts. You relax when you're experiencing the hurt heart. You relax when you're experiencing the noisy mind. That is the path. Are you willing to relax? Why does that work? Your stuff down there is a mess because it's just some of your learned experiences. It's really not some of your learned experiences, some of your suppressed experiences in general, right? It's stuff that bothered you before. You store all that stuff inside of you. You're afraid it's going to happen again. You need to protect yourself, okay? If you can relax, that stuff can come up. Well, I don't want it to come up. Yes, you do. If you want to be real, and one day of your life, wake up in the morning and live a real life. No games, no lies, no this, no fear, no anxiety, no desire. Just, wow, I'm here on the planet Earth, spinning around empty space. Wow. You want to get there? You better learn to stay centered. You better learn to be willing to relax and experience the growth of your being. And so you do it with small stuff, and notice I keep moving my hands up. That's what happens. It comes up. Don't just think that when I do this, it means Shakti's coming up. Before the Shakti can come up, all the stuff that's blocking the Shakti has to come up. You've stored all this stuff in there, and now it's coming up, and you're fighting it one way or another. When you're asleep, you don't even know you're fighting it. It's so strong, you're it. I'm it. I'm the one that this happened to when I was 10. It was terrible. I can't believe what my mother treated me. That's who I am. I'm the one who went through that. No, that's not who you are. That's an experience you had. It's an experience that you experienced, and it's gone 20 years ago. How dare you define yourself by the experiences you had? You would have been there even if you didn't have the experiences. Your psyche would be different, but the consciousness that's in there noticing is never different. It's always the same. A light that shines on an object is the same light whether the object is broken or another object goes under it. The light is not the object. It is transcendent to the object. Your consciousness is transcendent to what it's watching. Always has been, always will be. The trouble is that's a powerful thing you're watching, and you get absorbed in it, and you lose your center. You lose your awareness that you are aware of it. You're not it, you're aware of it. But now we're waking up, and we woke up enough to where you're aware that you're aware, and now you're seeing what you're aware of. And now not only do you see what you're aware of, you grew enough to say, I want to stay centered. I know what I want you is, what are you willing to pay? Everything. Anything. I want to be real. I don't want to struggle for the rest of my life. I don't want to suffer. Yeah, but people are doing things. They're not making me suffer. I'm making me suffer. And if you can say anything they want to you, fine. That's what they said. Really. It's just something they said. It's just a moment on the planet Earth. That's what happened. Can you imagine how many things get said every moment on the entire planet Earth? 8.5 billion people? Right? So somebody said something to you. It's hard to believe, isn't it? That you can be like that. You can be like that. How? Let it go. I mean, push it away or rationalize. No. Let it come in. Let it hurt. Let it be insulting. And then go to the next moment. I wonder what's next. Okay? I'm serious. You can be there. But not if you fight the stuff. All right? So now you're learning how to evolve. You are now, God, if Earth is a place that souls are sent to evolve, and that's the entire purpose of life, that's the entire purpose you took birth, is to grow. Now you're helping the process of the meaning of your life. It's not just some haphazard thing that the universe is doing. Maybe she'll wake up. Maybe she'll hit the ball right this time. Okay? No. You have woken up and said, okay, it's nicer in here when it's quiet. It's nicer in here when I'm not struggling. It's nicer in here when I'm not all caught up in desires and fears. Can I help that process? You can't do it, but you can help it. Ramdas used to say, really beautiful, you can't rip the skin off a snake. It has to fall off by itself. That's what's going on here. But you can help the process. How? First, don't interfere with it. So if something's coming up, don't interfere with it. Welcome it. It doesn't mean you really feel good about it. You're not going to. But something inside says, okay, this is now the time for doing this. I remember, I'm going way back to the 70s of my growth, I clearly remember saying to him, well, if astrology's right, they say all the stars and where they are in position and where your birth is and all this kind of thing determine what's happening, right? Here's a moment coming in front of me. Do I want to wait another 10 years for it to come back? He used to get scared of that because he wanted out, right? Like, who knows how long it will take again for everything to line up exactly to where it challenges that part of your being. Are you willing to let it go by? No. I'm not willing to let it go by. I'm willing to do everything I can to use every moment that comes. If it's hitting my stuff, it was meant for me. Fair enough? We're standing next to each other. Not hitting your stuff, it's hitting my stuff. Exact same thing, right? It's mine. It got my name on it. Well, how do I know it's the right time? Because it's happening. How do I know I can handle it? You will never, ever, ever be presented with, and you look at me in the eyes, you will never, ever be presented with more than what you can handle. But you do not believe that because you're a baby. Can't handle the heart, can't handle the mind, can't handle anything inside. It's really funny. Most of you can handle stuff outside much better than you can handle stuff inside. If you're sitting there playing a sport, you're playing volleyball, and you throw your hands up to block, you get a little black and blue mark over here. Do you quit? I can't play anymore. No, you don't, right? Somebody says one tiny thing in a tone that doesn't sound right. It's over for you. You can't handle your heart. I'm telling you the truth. You can't handle anything inside. But you handle outside pretty much better, okay? Risks. You're afraid. I don't know if I should give myself and love somebody that much. I'm afraid I'll get hurt again. Do you understand the risk you take when you drive a car? Have you met crazy people? They're driving next to you. That guy's wife just left him. He's totally drunk. Or if he's not drunk with alcohol, he's completely gone in his mind. They're not paying any attention. Do you know the risk you take at 70 miles an hour driving? I don't mean to make you scared here, but the truth is you take way more risks with that stuff than you do with a relationship, than you do with this, that, and the other thing. I'm afraid doing the interview. Why? Because I might get rejected. You're a baby inside. Start working with yourself. You start raising yourself. You start saying, yes, I can handle things. I can and I will. And that's what it means to raise the self with self, not trample down the self. You raise the energy up. You talk to her. It's okay. We can do this. It's okay. All right? And then what happens is more and more the moments happen in life that hit your stuff. Well, if you don't want stuff in there, then it's a blessing that hits your stuff. That's when you're really starting to grow. Now I'm back there. I've been through a lot of stuff. Everything you go through makes you stronger. If you don't give into it, it makes you stronger. If you give into it, then you're feeding the will. That's why I said, I told you before, I'll do it now. Suppression versus expression. Expression, don't get me wrong, it doesn't mean you're not doing things. The question is not what you're doing, it's why you're doing it. It's the motive that matters. Don't think that as I say expression is not suppression or expression. That means you don't do anything, you don't love anybody, you don't do anything, you don't work. No, you don't play the piano. That's all expression. The question is, why are you expressing? If you're expressing because you can't handle the energy and it is shooting up inside of you and going out, instead of suppressing it, it's leaking out and blaring all over the place, that's what I mean by expressing. If you're calm and centered inside, and you express yourself through music, you express yourself through love, you express yourself, I don't care. I'm not judging any of it. Unless really what you're doing is I can't handle it, so I'm throwing the energy out there. That's a different kind of expression, isn't it? It's not spiritual expression. It's psychological release. And it will do no good. All it will do is become habit. Right? So basically, what happens is more and more, you're back in here. And you're aware of being back. You don't have to talk about it. That's silly. People say to me, well, which part of the voice in my head is me? None of them. None of them. You are the one who noticed it. Well, I have a voice in there that's saying, just relax, just relax. And the other voice is saying, well, you need to express yourself. Which one should I listen to? None. Be the one who notices. It's the same you who notices both, isn't it? Otherwise, you wouldn't know they were going on. Relax. The answer is relax. Every single time. The answer is, but what do I do? Relax. But relax. If it's making noise and trying to figure stuff out, relax. That is always the answer. But what? No, relax. And when you relax, you're not in there thrashing around, making the mind make more noise. That's what's happening when you go down in there, but I can't figure out. But you don't understand me. This is important. Relax. The more important it is, the more you relax. Why? Because you're going to find out that what's happening is as follows. You are lying down, drowning, and you're thrashing around, trying to not drown. And all of a sudden, Yoda shows up, he represents the guru, and sits there and says, what are you doing? And wait a minute, there's 3 inches of water. Just stand up. There's 3 inches of water, you're face down, flashing around, making the water go in your mouth and your nose. That's what's happening. Relax. Relax. Stop thrashing around. Stop trying to figure it out. Relax. Relax. The water gets quiet. You realize, oh my God, I've been doing this to myself. Of course you're doing it to yourself. And more, you go higher and higher and higher. Okay? And what happens is, when you relax and you learn to let go, all the time, the first reaction is let go. First reaction is let go. The stronger the stuff that comes up, the more you relax. And you learn to do it with the small stuff first, because I can't do it with the big stuff. And then all of a sudden, people write me, but you talk about low-hanging fruit. What happens when something's bigger? It won't seem bigger once you're done with the low-hanging fruit. If you're playing tennis and you can't get across the net, but then you learn how to get across the net, then you'll learn backhand, then all the things that seemed impossible aren't, are they? That's what happens inside. You become capable of handling bigger and bigger things, and they don't seem bigger. They don't seem like anything, because you learn to relax and let the energy pass through. Now you can let more and more energies pass through. There. How's that for a challenge? That is called spiritual growth. You're evolving. Your consciousness is evolving to be able to let things come in and pass through. That's what it's all about. Okay, we'll take a moment. What do I do if I relax? I was struggling and trying to figure it all out and drive myself crazy for weeks. I don't do this. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. And then somebody said, no, change my mind. Go, whoa, there's that thrashing in the 2 inches of water. Okay, and you relax. And what happens? You start realizing there's a most important thing. When you relax, you know what you realize? I'm okay. People have trouble with decisions. You should not have trouble with decisions. Why? If you're okay, the decision doesn't matter. The reason decisions are so hard is you're trying to figure out what needs to happen for me to be okay. Where do I move? Where do I live? Should I get married? What's this? What should I major in? Everything. What do I need to do to be okay? Well, that's a tough decision, because you don't have any idea. Not to mention tomorrow it'll change. And you know it. And I love my favorite. If you can't make a decision, you're looking both ways, right? If you choose this, it will look like it for a while. You'll always think, I should have chose that. You will always think, oh God, I probably should have chose that. That's what I mean by shallow grave. You dug a shallow grave for yourself. If you choose the other, God, I wonder what happened if I chose that. That's not the answer. The answer is relax. Relax enough, that's where I want you. Relax enough to where you realize, I'm okay, so it doesn't matter what decision it is. Do you understand that? It's a whole other ball game. I'm not trying to decide how to be okay. I am okay within myself. Then all of a sudden you look down, there's no pressure. There's no anxiety. You rationally look, and as opposed to desires and fears, you look at the information. I would tell everybody, you don't make decisions, you gather information. I'm a businessman. You don't make decisions, you gather information. Information makes decisions. That goes even for marriages and personal things or babies. Anything. You just quietly get clear and gather information. Then as it unfolds, it will guide you. So you don't let your stupid mind and fears and anxieties guide you. And plus, when you finally make the decision, or you move in a given direction, it doesn't matter. I'll be okay in New York, I'll be okay in Florida. I'll be okay married, I'll be okay if I never get married. I'll be okay if I have 2 children, I'll be okay when I have 8 children. The reason you think it matters is because you're not okay and you think they will make you be okay. Once you're okay, it doesn't look like that. It looks like, fine, I'm sitting in a plant in the middle of nowhere, I'll have a lot of fun about what happens, I don't have any pressure. And then you can naturally be open and allow things to unfold. Now people can't handle that because they want to say, but, there's no but. There's millions of things that happen to you every day because you're okay, you don't even pay attention to them, they're fine. There's white lines in the road, there's clouds, there's billions of things that happen. Everything becomes like that. Everything becomes like that. Whoa, how would you like that? You're at peace, you're whole, you're calm, you feel love, you feel energy, you're with God, you feel everything inside. Have fun now. Don't not interact. You understand that? But you're not expressing your lower self. It has fallen off to the point where you're just there interacting with life. That's the Tao. That's what I was meant by the Tao. You're just in there interacting with life. So these are the stages you go through. More and more what's going to happen as you grow, when you dare to exercise will properly. Now, I'm not telling you not to push stuff away. If the option is you're going to throw pots and pans and scream and get divorced because somebody said something, you better push that away. Right? Because you're going to pay the consequences of your actions. That's what karma is. If you come from the place I'm talking about, I'm going to say it now, we'll see if lightning comes, there is no karma. If you come from the deepest, clearest place you can come from, and you're doing your best, there is no karma. Karma is, I'm not doing that. I feel these desires and fears and things, and I'm hurting people, and I'm manipulating. Well, that's all going to come back. You laid it out there, it's going to come back. But if you're doing your best, you'll learn it, and everything's going to come out perfectly, so you'll let that go too. If you don't build it inside of you, it doesn't come back. And the part that what comes back isn't karma, it's learning, it's lessons, right? You get another shot at it. It's fine. So don't worry about karma and all that kind of stuff. If you will do your best to let go of the stuff that's coming up, wait till you see how much help you get. You don't walk this path alone. You do not walk this path alone. I don't care whether you understand it or not. You have to give a name to anything. God, gurus, anything, Divine Mother. I don't care. Do it any way you want. You don't walk this path alone. Okay? If you relax and you open, you're going to see that you're not walking this path alone. That events are unfolding in just the right order. And oh my God, I thought I screwed up, and then grace will take place or something. If you are doing your absolute best to help this process of waking up, to help this process of letting go, to help this process of raising yourself all the time. Yogananda's favorite quote from the Bible was, "Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all things shall be added unto you." That is not this thing they're selling you, the law of attraction, that decide what you want and then use mantras to get it. That's not what that says. It says, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. That's what we've been talking about, right? To go to God, you got to let go of yourself. You got to die to be reborn. So you're constantly going back further and further inside, and you can start noticing that all things are added to you. Not necessarily what you wanted, but just start seeing it's what needs to be, what needed to be. Somebody once asked me, how do you see God, right? Eventually you'll merge, but until then, when you look back, if you're doing what I talked to you about, growing, when you look back, you'll see God. You'll look back and see that every single thing that ever happened to you was something helping you let go of yourself, helping you to die to be reborn, helping you to grow internally and inside. So that is spiritual evolution. Do you see it? It's not spiritual techniques. It's real. It's spiritual evolution. And you're the only one that can do it. Nobody can do it for you. Your husband can't do it. Your kids can't do it. Doctor can't do it. You're the only one in there, and only you have the right to exercise your volition, I like it better than will, your volition, to set the pole star of your life, and then don't take your eyes off. Don't take your eyes off. But no buts. Just keep letting go to the best of your ability, and you'll keep waking up and keep waking up. And I always, in my talks, so far, we have not talked about anything in terms of the higher states. All we've talked about is freeing yourself from yourself enough to where you can have a decent life for you and everybody around you. Do it in 1 minute. What happens next? You open up enough and open up enough and open up enough and open up enough to where you've cleansed enough junk. That's what's going to happen. The junk's going to come up. Life's going to help it come up. Keep letting go. Let go. And eventually you're going to see for yourself, not because I said it, underneath all that stuff that you're fighting with and struggling with is Shakti, is spirit. That's what's under there. And the reason it's coming up is trying to push it out of the way. It's like a purification process. And eventually enough will go to start feeling this rush of energy inside of you all the time. If you want to feel love, wave your hand in front of your heart. It bursts, love comes bursting out. Anything you do, just Shakti's pouring off of you, running inside of you, feeding you all the time. And that's not a high state. Nice state, right? Not a high state. The high state happens when the Shakti is flowing so strong that your consciousness, instead of having to let go of the lower stuff, or even getting bathed by the Shakti, realizes, where's this coming from? There's this beautiful flow of energy inside. What's its source? You don't think that, but you just notice. And you start to seek the source of the Shakti. That's a very great thing. When the inner self, the consciousness, seeks its own source. Where did it come from? It starts to let go, not let go of the lower self, let go of its sense of separateness. And then the merger takes place. It pulls you back inside, and the drop of consciousness falls into the ocean and merges. And that's what yoga means. Yoga means union. That's the translation for the word yoga in Sanskrit is union. That's what they're talking about. Every picture on this wall are great enlightened beings. That's what it means to be enlightened. Not just had a nice experience. Christ, my Father and I are one. Every one of you, that's true. You're just busy looking down, aren't you? Looking at all the stuff and struggling. As you do this process, it will become the opposite. It will pull you up. Jai Gurudev.